Wi-Fi. Yeah. All right.
You're burping. We saw Rosie. Their whole family was out. Started barking at that kid for some reason. Yeah. So, you have to have the. Rosie was like just running around off the beach, so like it was barking at the beach. Yeah. Didn't bother me anymore. Very early. You would get your kid over me like up off the beach, and they're like down off the beach, and then after a little. Yeah. Just give her some more running time. He's good, and we get some small, just liner gloves. But they're 15 years old anyway, so.
Good morning.
Good morning. Carson. When we get down to item let me find it here. There is it again. The bicycle program. I have a logo of Smart Commute to show. Remember I gave you that one example? I want to show it to everybody and get everybody's okay on it before I start putting it on these high visibility vests. Is that okay?
Yeah, do you want to maybe shoot it to me in an email and I can throw it up on the screen? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. How do I do that?
Do you have it in an emailable format, or do you want to just put it up on your camera? I'm good either way. I don't really care. Just want to make sure it looks okay.
Now, where did it go? Okay, there it is.
I have,
How can I send this to you?
well, you can email it. I also have this. If you look at your screen for a sec, I also have this. Well, it's rotating on me, but make sure if this is the right one, I can share this. Is that the right one?
Yeah, but that's a reverse.
Sure.
That's a reverse. I've got the original one here. Can you go to my screen?
Yeah, I think I don't want to do it during the middle, but probably maybe at the end we can just flip over to your screen. Unfortunately, I have to give you host capabilities the way I've set it up, but I think we should have time, hopefully, if that's okay with you, Gene.
That's fine.
Good deal.
Okay. I will put this down on the bottom and come back. Come on.
Morning, Karen.
Good morning, Chair. Looks like we have a lengthy agenda, but I think a lot of these things will go very fast. Hopefully we'll get out within the hour. So
That's good.
if everybody's had a chance to sign into the chat box, so we have you on record as attending, that would be helpful.
Thanks for the quick reminder. I always forget to do that.
Okay, ready when you are, Chair.
All right, hold on here 1 second. Let me flip this over. All right, I'd like to bring the Smart Commute meeting of October 27th to order. So we'll dispense with roll call. I know we have a quorum, so let's move on to the approval of August 2021 minutes. And it says here no meeting in September. Is that right? Right. So do we have has everyone had a chance to take a look at the August meeting minutes? And are there any changes? I don't hear any. So we'll accept them as presented, Karen.
Thank you.
Next is acceptance of August, September, and October treasurer's report. Do you want to go over that?
I'll just give you some highlights. I think a couple of the highlights, and Carson, you have those to put up on the screen, do you? Yeah. I think, you know, we're getting these reimbursements from the Colorado Energy Office, the e-bikes program. By the end of October, we used up all of that grant money, and now our local match will be funding the second phase of those e-bike grant. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We received in July or in September, let's see, July, August, we received a grant from the Colorado Community Action Association for scholarships for the e-bike program, and that's down here on this piece. And I think other than that, everything's pretty similar to what always happens every month. Let's go to the next month. So August is for September. We had nothing too outstanding in that month. We had quite a few outstanding invoices still not paid in September. Let's go to the next month. And then the month of October, which finishes out September, we got a reimbursement for the leaning benches. Do you remember a year ago, we gave $1,000 seed grant to the G line, City of Arvada, to put in some leaning benches for the G line. And that seed money was a stimulus to other people to put money into that program. The program got funded and the benches got put in, and our return of unused money was $193.07. So if you see something there that looks unusual, that's the one-time return on the amount of money that they didn't need to use, that they had other funders for. And then I think if you go down to the bottom here where it says reserved savings account, we did get the $15,000 from Broomfield for the local match for the Flex Ride program. That's been outstanding for some time, and it was just kind of a lot of bureaucracy to get that put in there. If you remember, the reserve savings account is the local match from Westminster, Thornton, and Broomfield that we will use to pay down shuttle costs next year once RTD's portion has been used up. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions? I don't hear any. Do we have a motion to approve the September? Let's see, we have August, September, and October financials.
So moved.
Okay, do I hear some- Great. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. All right, next we have new member, Karen.
Yeah, so just like to highlight two of our new members. I see Wadi Burgess is on here, and that's Westminster Parking. We are excited to have Westminster Parking as a member, and we've gone out and talked to Wadi, met him in person, and had a couple of conversations with him. We're very excited to have him join our group. And I don't know if Reza Akavan is on here. There's somebody on the telephone, and I don't know who that is. Could you tell me who it is on the
That's
telephone?
me, Karen. This is Catherine.
Oh, it's Catherine. I should
I'm
have
on the road.
recognized
Yeah.
that. No, I should have recognized that. So Reza Akavan from HNTB has joined, and they'll be coming to the NATA meetings as well. So we're really excited to have them. Just wanted to welcome them. And Wadi, wave your hand in, let everybody see who you are. Here you go.
Welcome.
We're really excited to have him, and we're excited to work on customized programming for him.
Yes.
Right, that's great.
Right.
That brings us into the next piece, which is, of course, the 2022 Executive Board. Joyce, I'll throw this over to you to start.
All right. Every year we elect a new executive board. But this particular year, I'm going to be resigning from Smart Commute. I am no longer going to be a council person in North Glen. And so I'm excited to look at, anyone that's interested in moving forward with the, being part of the executive board. I'm a little sad about, having to leave. I've been working with you guys for a long time, but it's time, it's time, and I'm excited about it. So we have our vice chair, who I'm hoping, Jessica will be interested in moving up to become chair. And then whoever would be interested in throwing their hat in for other positions also. So with that, I'll throw it back to you, Karen.
Thank you. Carson, would you put that slide up, please, that shows the people who are on our board now? So we're happy to open it up to succession. It has to be a paying member, so it wouldn't be our in-kind membership with Sustainable Broomfield or others who aren't a paying member of Smart Commute. So we're looking for some, there's Troy. Hi, Troy. Welcome. So we're looking for leadership going forward. As you know, we usually have a monthly meeting. We haven't had a monthly meeting every month this year because of some conflicting conferences that people who are part of our membership need to participate in. We would love to have this ongoing, and let's see, can you put the next slide up, Carson? This is what we are asking for from the board of directors. Really, the executive board members are responsible for ensuring funds are raised and spent in a responsible manner, approving the budget. They're responsible for ensuring the organization is well managed, and they have the authority and responsibility to hire and fire the executive director, set equitable compensation, approve annual contracts, participate in the executive director's performance evaluation. I have to say, the executive director has not had a performance evaluation for a couple of years. I think part of it is due to COVID and part of it is due to time getting away from all of us. But we are going to talk about succession planning for 2022 in just a minute. And whoever the new executive director is would be subject to all of that. We want the executive board to provide the executive director with whatever tools that person needs to do the job. Responsible for supporting the executive director in any fundraising efforts. And I have to say, in the past, when we weren't doing this virtually, I relied on Kent and on Kyle and on Troy and others to meet with prospective members and talk about the value that Smart Commute brings and what kind of programming tools, resources, information we bring to the table. And I appreciate all of you who went with me on those meetings. We haven't done that for a while either because of the restrictions of COVID, but I anticipate going forward that would be something we would like board members to help with. Act for an ambassador as the organization. I have to thank all of you who call us out in your newsletters, who talk about what we do, who share our Facebook posts, and who give us the support that we need to be the go-to agency in the North Area Transportation Alliance area as the TMO experts. And then we are going to do some rebranding next year. We have a grant to help us do that, and we'll want board members to help create the organization's mission. We've talked a lot about changing some of the language in the mission and some of our goals and some of our long-term planning. And I think next year is going to be integral for that kind of thing for a board member, not just the three, the chair, the vice chair, and the treasurer, but for everybody who sits on the board. There's 12 12 appointments on the board, and we really want people who are committed to doing this. And then we do expect board members to maintain personnel and financial confidentiality on aspects as we do our management and policy decision making. I know many of you sit on other boards as well, and we feel that some of the internal workings of the organization should be confidential and not shared outside our board discussions. And so we just want to say that as you consider staying on our board and as you consider being part of the executive team, we'd like to just remind you of these roles and responsibilities that we put forth as the board of directors.
Are there any comments so far? All right, Karen.
Let's go to the next slide, please, Carson. So here are our membership partners, and anyone who's a membership partner, except for in kind, which is, I think, like Way to Go, RTD, Dr. Coggin, Sustainable Brumfield, all have an opportunity to sit on here as a board member. Because we are accepting FTA fund, federal transportation money, administration money, our relationship with RTD requires us to adhere to Title VI requirements for that pass-through money that we use to pay for the shuttle services and the e-bike services. And one of the things when we had a review was the lack of diversity on our board. This has been an issue for us for a while. We have had in the past some better diversity on the full board, on the 12-member board. If you remember Tricia Allen, who was CEO of ACED, served on our board, and Bo Martinez and others who served on our board, who added some diversity. Rhiannon
That's right.
who was Price, who was on our board. So as we look at adding to our membership and adding to our board, we are looking to add diversity. And I have to say, even at the Transportation Commission, it's been very difficult for us to add diversity to the board for a number of reasons. One of which is, I'm not paying any of you anything to be on this board, and I'm demanding quite a lot of you. I'm asking you to do a lot of work. So it's hard to recruit people and say, hey, we've got this great position we'd love you to take. It takes up your time, it's challenging, and oh, by the way, we're not going to pay you for any of it. So just keep all that in mind as we move forward into 2022 and we try to find a little more diversity on our board. We're always happy to add more ethnically diverse participants in our board. So I'll leave it at that. We will have a vote on the executive board in December. And so between now and December, we'd like to have a commitment from Councilmember Sangren that she's willing to be the chair next year. And I understand that you'll have to wait till after Tuesday, Mayor Pro Tem, is that right?
Officially, yes, but that is my plan, correct?
Great. We've got our fingers crossed for you. And then we'll move forward. So any questions or comments on any of this? We won't take any action on this until next month or December. We don't have a meeting next month.
And just one comment concerning the comments about diversity and that type of thing. But right now, everyone looks at inclusion and diversity, and especially when we're writing grants and that type of thing. So it's really important that we look at every avenue that we can. So I just wanted to kind of throw that in. I mean, it's not that we just wanted to say we want to diversify, but I mean, there's really a reason behind all this. So
Thank you. That's well said. Thanks for saying that, Chair. I did say that as we go into 2022, we're going to make some changes, and I'll talk about that down here in a minute under, let's see, where did I put that? Well, it's down here somewhere. We'll talk
Yes.
about that. Or maybe I can just talk about it now. Maybe I'll just do that.
Okay.
So next year will be our 10th anniversary at Smart Commute. Created 10 years ago, funding for 10 years. They said it wouldn't last.
It's amazing, isn't it? Time's
Oh
flying.
my gosh. Yeah. Creating it from nothing. And struggling the first couple of years. And thanks to all of you who've had a part in that. I have to say we've come a long way. We have an incredible staff who are really dedicated professionals and who are so smart, talented, savvy, tech savvy, passionate, all of the above. And so at the end of February next year, I'm going to retire. It's time. I'm hoping that we will find the executive director from within. And I'll talk to each of you about that in the upcoming month. We are so fortunate to have been able to retain all of this talent. I know many other TMOs have had extraordinary problems keeping their employees. It's a nonprofit. We don't pay a whole lot of money. We require a lot. There's a lot of outreach outside of regular office hours. We're looking for a way to keep everybody and keep this organization going strong and taking it in the direction that it needs to go for the future. And so with that, I will be contacting all of you to talk about the succession plan that I have talked to Joyce about, our chair about, and to talk to all of you about how I think I'm going to recommend it goes, and then leave it up to you to give me input on that, and then we talk about that in December as well. So I think that's what I'll say about that. I guess we'll go to the next one, and I think you have a slide, Parson.
Here, PowerPoint's being a little delayed this morning. Apologize about that. I'm just going to do a quick wrap up of a few different outreach things we've had kind of here the last few months. So starting with Bike to Summer, here's our kind of wrap up of some of the key metrics we found from Bike to Summer. First time doing it this year, really needed an opportunity to get out and talk to folks about biking in our area. As kind of COVID wound down, we were looking for public engagement opportunities. So we reached over 1,200 people at about 18 events throughout the metro region this summer at those Bike to Summer specific events, including full moon bike rides, different community events, and they were all, I think, pretty successful in their own way. We hit the pavement on social media quite a bit. We put up 80 social media posts with over 7,500 folks reached across both Facebook and Twitter, which is quite good for a small organization like ours. And we think we had some pretty good engagement there, especially with folks resharing it that had pretty big reaches, including cities and folks like that. If you remember back in the spring, we brought before you some metrics that we were interested in looking at toward the end of Bike to Summer. Well, we've gone back and looked at those. These are not all of them here in the middle of your screen, but these are some that we thought were important to bring to you today. We had very significant positive engagement with local jurisdictions and developments across our area. That was one of our main goals, is really engage at that level across the community, and we think that was a success. The engagement with our in-person and virtual build a bike map idea, unfortunately, just wasn't very robust, and that's something we'll have to reevaluate for next year. We thought it was a good engagement tool for these cycling folks to get out there and say, this is where we have issues and this is where it's good across our region, but it just wasn't that good of engagement. So we thought we would reevaluate that next year in a different way. Maybe we had 11 co-branded RTD and Smart Commute Shine On is the brand bike lights we gave away as prizes. Those are really nice bike lights that are about $110 a piece, and they are from a CU Boulder startup company that shines both forward and onto the biker for safety. Those were really nice prizes, and we enjoyed giving those out. One of our measurements we looked at was, did people replicate this across the region? Did people copy our idea? So Way to Go actually reached out to us and wanted to copy the idea of one of our themes throughout August was I bike with friends. They were able to replicate that in one of their own challenges, and we didn't see a problem with that, but it's nice to see that we were being successful and people were looking to emulate us kind of across the region. Those are some of the metrics from Bike to Summer, and I'll show a few photos, but I think I'll pause there if there are any questions about Bike to Summer in specific before we move on. All right, good deal. So here's just a few photos over the last few months since we've seen you guys here at the board. On the left here was 3 photos of us at Thornton Harvest Fest. It was a really great event, beautiful weather day. Here's Catherine at our table before the folks started showing up. We talked to lots and lots of people, probably 300, 400 people that day. Here they are gathered around the table in the bottom left. And we were able to incentivize people to take a photo with the nice inline flyer if we gave them one of our last remaining colorful fun G-line bags. So that was a really good event. We enjoyed that one, and we're able to talk a lot about the inline and some of the connections in the area. And then on the right, all these photos are from Bike to Work Day from back in September. On the top here, that's Adams County Station at the confluence of the trails there at the Platte and Clear Creek. We had about 100 or so riders that morning, which is down from a typical 300 person kind of morning there at a very heavy traffic trail system. But it was good engagement. Here we are with some riders. I'm there in the background at that station. That was probably our highest ridership across the region. Here we are at St. Anthony North. They had a station out front both in the morning and in the afternoon for both of their shifts. And Tammy was there both times with their staff talking to folks that were able to bike in. A little bit lower ridership there, but to be expected, it's not at an exact trail. So the only people riding there would be coming and going from the hospital mostly. Here's me with our 2 144th Avenue kind of mobility options. The Flex Ride stopped by, and we had the e-bike there in person to do some test rides with folks that were interested. So there's our 2 main offerings in that area with me. I'm showing those off. Here's Catherine and Karen down at the bottom with some North Glen staff folks with their blender bikes. So you blend your smoothies with the bikes and it's pedal powered. Unfortunately, the ridership was a little bit low there. It was just a little late this year for planning, but really good idea. And we hope to kind of keep doing that in the future as Bike to Work Day ramps back up next year, hopefully. Speaking of outreach, we have decided to use our remaining months here in 2021 and some of the RTD marketing grant funding that you guys are aware of throughout the rest of the year to get out there and talk to folks that are riding the inline and at a few of the park and rides. So here's a schedule of what we're going to be out there. Our staff is going to be out there handing out hot chocolate, talking to folks about their riding experience, and just thanking them for riding kind of across the region. We've been wanting to do these events for a really long time. As soon as the inline opened, we wanted to get out there and encourage ridership, but it's been tough because of COVID. We've had some restrictions from RTD, couldn't be out there, didn't want to interact with folks. So this is a great opportunity for us starting in mid-November and going through mid-December to get out there at each one of our stations in our region, our service area, so to speak, across the inline at these various times. We'll be sure to share this with all of you so that you can take a look and maybe could stop by at some of these. If you can see December the 4th, that we're going to be spread thin that day, 1 at each station because it's the Parade of Lights Day. So we're going to try to hit a lot of riders that are going downtown for that. And then Sunday, December the 12th is a Broncos home game. And we know there'll be a lot of riders going down for that. So I think that's it for that section. I'll take questions about outreach or comments, of course.
Carson, this is Kyle. How, if you happen to know, what is the call it COVID adjusted ridership for the N line, and how is that comparing with some of the other lines in RTD's network? Just curious to know how N line's doing.
Yeah, I can take that one. Because I happen to have an RTD director in my household. Really excited about the uptick in the N line. It was particularly on Broncos days, on Rockies days, on any kind of events that are downtown. We're getting really good ridership. And Vince was telling me that it now is very similar in ridership to the G line, and the G line's been going for 2 years now. So we feel very good about the number of riders. And I think Catherine wrote it recently. I know Jessica wrote it recently. If either of you want to chime in on what your impressions were on ridership on the inline.
It's Jessica. I wrote it. I think it was a weekend where there was a Rockies game and it was standing room only. So it was pretty amazing. I hadn't seen it like that at all, ever. And it was that way for the entire weekend. So I don't know if there was a Bronco game the next day. But it was good. There was a lot of people on there.
Yeah, Kyle,
We
it's really trending up, and we're going to overtake the G line. Vince and I are determined. Number. So, it's the field of dreams thing, build it and they will come. And we had a rough start with some glitches in the wintertime, as Jessica well knows, about 90% on time. And, that needs to be at 95 or 98. And I think we're going to get there. And we're fully staffed now with 30 operators. So our operational shortage isn't quite so dire on the inline. That's the only line that RTD personnel runs as far as trains. The rest are contracted out. Now that doesn't mean that we will have a few shortages, but I don't know if it's more of a glamorous job or if it pays a little bit better than operating a bus. But we dwell on so many negative things at RTD. I appreciate you bringing this up because it is a good story. I think we had 310,000 miles traveled last year through the trains, and we're up 83%. Let's see, what was it? Vince and I did a presentation Monday. 83% uptick in ridership from January of this year to August of this year. So obviously we're getting more commuters, and some of that uptick is, Rockies and Broncos. The one issue that pops up, and I don't know if we'll be able to address it soon, but when we have the Avs and the Nuggets playing evening games and they have overtimes, which often happens in hockey and basketball, we're butting up against the last train headed north, and that's problematic. So we've got to deal with that. And hopefully we can figure that out because without the Bronco ride, without the Rockies ride and all those other things, it's the best way to get there. So that's one of the obstacles. And so far, after we got through the glitches, things have been going well and numbers are increasing. And we just keep telling Shelley Cook that we're going to pass her on the G line. So.
And I apologize, Director Whitmore, you don't live with me. And so I forgot that you're on the RTD. But I know you've been a stalwart supporter of making sure that line has good service on it. Any of the glitches that happen, you and Vince are right on it. And we're pretty fortunate to have you guys. So I appreciate it. We did want, and I'll give it to Catherine here in a second. I did want to say that, we're willing to do any other outreach that anyone wants. We're happy to do some of the G line. We're happy to do some of the B line. We have had a lot of cuts as well in our region. I know you've seen a lot in the news recently about Boulder, but Boulder isn't the only place that has had cuts. And the 122X, which was a very popular very popular service has been cut and hasn't been reinstated. And so the 120X, and we could do outreach there. We've talked about doing outreach there. We hear from a lot of people about wanting service reinstated. That 122X is a different route than the 120. So I'll give it to Catherine. Thanks, Catherine.
Yeah, not to say very much. I ride off peak typically if I'm riding the train, and usually at the stations I board, which is either East Lake or 112th, you're seeing 15 to 20 people boarding in the middle of the day, and this train is picking up half a dozen people at every station, and that's not for those peak school or work times. So those parking lots are really starting to fill up, and haven't seen the exact numbers, but just anecdotally looking at the presence of cars in those park and ride lots and more traffic around those stations, it's starting to show its success as a project. And we're overcoming all of that COVID launch, the dilemma that we faced at the beginning with the train.
Thanks, Catherine. Karen?
I think Gene has his hand up.
Oh, okay. I can't see from here. All righty.
Yeah, I've ridden it, and I think some people, I know some of my neighbors have ridden it and have gone downtown for dinners and lunch. My next door neighbor went down with his wife for their anniversary, and he came back and told me that it was a very pleasant experience, not having to find parking and didn't have to deal with traffic. So I think, like with a lot of things, it's growing on people. And if you look at the park and ride, Thornton Park and Ride, where it used to be at 80 and 90% full, it's down. And I think a lot of those people are switching over to the inline. Next.
Cover the TDM grant agenda item, or would you like to?
I don't know if she's dropped off or not.
That's okay. I'm
Go
happy
ahead.
to
Okay, thank you.
briefly cover. Oh, there she is.
Sorry, my internet's in and out. So if you don't see me, I'm sorry. I'm going to take my picture off and see if it'll stabilize. But Carson, this one's yours, right?
Sure. I think just a brief update. Please add if I'm missing something, Catherine or Karen or Tammy, anybody. We have, as you know, a new CDOT TDM grant, I think, was released. I can't remember the last time we met, if it had happened yet, but we were recently approved and got a purchase order for that grant. It's $60,000 essentially for until mid-summer next year. I think June would be the cutoff time for that. And with that grant money, we're going to be doing a website redo, a full website redo, because ours is pretty old and needs some improvements, quite frankly. And as a part of that, we're going to be doing a logo and rebrand activity for our 10-year anniversary. And then as another portion of that grant, we think we'll still have the funds available, and we've written into the grant the opportunity to gather some bike map data. No bike map will be produced with this, but it'll be a first step in gathering that data with the jurisdictions and counties kind of across the area to figure out what those gaps are, right, Kyle? But it's an opportunity for us to have some funds to sit down and actually play with data sets and sit down with those jurisdictions and figure out what those gaps look like, so that when we do have the availability of funding in the future, or the staff time to move forward with a map, we'll have the opportunity to do that. So that's kind of what the C.TDM grant looks like. We're just getting started on that as we speak this month.
And I'll just add, Kyle, you had asked about where we are with the bike map. So as you heard, Carson said we had activities called Build a Map, Build a Bike Map, and we didn't get a lot of activity on that because the participation level was so low, because Bike to Work Day was held in October instead of in June, for a number of reasons. But with this new ability of us upgrading our website, we'll be able to put something on there that would be interactive for people, hopefully for people to participate in closing the gap. And that's something we've heard from a lot of people that do want to bike. We're getting a lot of feedback from e-bikers as well, because they, in our program, they have to log their miles and they have to report where they're using their bikes in order to build some of the data that this program is looking to have. And so what's interesting is we are getting quite a bit of feedback saying, you know, I rode my bike from here to here and there's a whole section that I have to go out into the street, or I have to go over prairie, or I have to do this or that. And so we're starting to get that data. It's slow in coming, but I do believe with our new platform, we're going to spend about 20 grand, I think, in getting a better website and a more interactive website. We should be able to start pulling in some of that data, and it's our ongoing obligation, if we get anything done next year, is to get a good portion of that bike map done. So it's been a little slow for lots of reasons, but we always have it as one of the strategic tasks that we're looking at for 2022.
I appreciate that, Karen and Carson. Thanks for the update. And didn't realize that we were getting information in from the e-bike group, which is great. Is that fairly representative of our whole coverage area, or is it focused in certain portions? In other words, could there potentially be gaps in the data that we would want to fill by other means?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, Carson, can you pull up number 9, which is the e-bike program? We'll just show you the map.
Skip ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so here's where our e-bikes are going right now. You can see that it's just a very localized area. One of the reasons it's localized, it's the axis is 144th I-25, because we were focusing on first and last mile opportunities for people getting to the workforce area at 144th I-25. But you can see, I mean, we've got bikes in other areas. We only have 9 bikes out there right now. In phase 2, we'll put in another 10. We had 1 person drop out of the program and 1 person have her bike stolen. So that's just one way that we're getting data, and the data goes to NREL, and then NREL compiles our data with 7 other programs that they're running at the same time. So not ideal and not enough to cover the whole area, but as we expand this e-bike piece, the people that are participating agree to use the app to give us data back. I think we've got to do a better job of requesting data from people who ride. And you know, there's that program, and I'm trying to think what it's called, that we've seen at DRCOG a number of times, where people can voluntarily talk about connectivity for walking or biking. What's that called? Do you remember? Anyway, it's self-reporting, and then you can go onto a website and then close the gaps, say, here's how you can get from here to here and avoid that area that you can't easily go. Something like that is probably going to give us more data than the 10 e-bikes that we'll have out there. But we're certainly cognizant of the need to close those gaps, and a number of transportation planning activities are going on. For example, Thornton and Broomfield are both doing wayfinding and bike and ped planning, and we are coordinating with them. We're coordinating up in Highway 7. We are on the technical advisory committees of many of those organizations, and so we can start pulling data from them as well. Do you want to go back to where we were, and then we'll come back to this?
Karen, I can jump in on that real quick too, if you want.
Great.
Since I'm on Highway 7, Broomfield Wayfinding, and Thornton, I can tell you, Kyle, that all three of those have worked with consultants, especially for the wayfinding and in Broomfield and Thornton, that are actually identifying the gaps in the trails. So once they finalize those, we'll be able to get the information from Broomfield and Thornton on where the actual gaps in the trails are. And they are addressing those as part of their master planning for the bike and ped. So that'll be a huge plus for us to be able to get that when we put that map together.
That sounds great. And I just learned earlier this week that Broomfield's got a program, I think they're calling it the Archery, where they're trying to connect Broomfield, which is sort of a bizarrely shaped geographic area, from the US 36 area all the way up to the northeast portion. So I suspect that will be part of the overall connectivity plan as well.
All right. Anything else, Karen?
No, I think that's all.
All righty. Shall we move on then to the conference?
Sure. I'll give this to Carson. He's been very active in putting this conference together.
Thank you.
Yeah, so CDOT had the idea of putting on a transportation demand management, a TDM conference, when our ETRP program was still in conversations, and they wanted to bring together folks kind of across the state to have these conversations and host a free conference in person. Since then, we've pivoted to virtual like everything else as COVID has kept going. But here's some information, very basic, about the conference. Catherine has put the information about the registration in the chat. This conference is totally free. It's a half-day event. It's on November the 5th. You'll have the opportunity to listen to only specific agenda items. If you're interested in those, I would encourage you to go in and check out what they have to offer, because there's some very interesting specific agenda topics you could maybe get something out of, and you don't have to stay around for the whole day. So our very own Karen Stewart will obviously be featured as introductory remarks as CDOT Transportation Commissioner and wearing the hat of Smart Community Executive Director. And Catherine Sanders, our data expert in-house here, TDM certified professional, is going to be speaking about data measurement in TDM with a panel of some other data folks around the region. Again, this is a half-day conference on November the 5th. It's a Friday. Would encourage you to check out those agenda items and registration information if you're interested, and share those around with folks if you think they have some TDM interest as well.
And it's free.
It's all free. Very easy. Pop on the Zoom link and join in if you'd like.
Yeah, it looks pretty good, I think. And the first time that CDOT's taking this on, and I think the significance of this is the greenhouse gas emissions ruling that looks at mitigation of significant highway projects can be mitigated by transportation demand management strategies that TMOs do. So there's a huge connection there. And for the first time, I think TMOs are being acknowledged as an important tool in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Pretty good stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, back e-bikes.
Yeah, I'll just quickly take this one. We covered a little bit of it earlier, but here's some some stats that we gathered from Gene, the program manager. There were 240 total e-bike trips in our program between September and October. Like Karen said, between those 9 bikes that we have out on the roads with those participants, 47% of those trips that were recorded and reported to NREL, of course, were to and from work. So those are what we're really interested in, those commute trips. That's why this program exists. That's why these e-bikes are on the street. So to see about half of those trips, I think is a pretty good number. They're allowed to use it for other things, and those other trips that they're reporting on include, going to get meals, using it as a recreation activity, and to and from home for various activities as well. Here's the map. We've added a few new folks, including one that works at the Amazon facility on 128th. And another person that lives down here in Twin Lakes that works up in Red Lobster, North Clinton. So they're biking pretty good distances kind of across our region, and we're gathering some feedback from those folks as they take their various routes kind of across the region. I think it's been a learning experience for all of us, like Karen said, but some places are better poised for e-bike use than others. I guess the closer you are, the easier it is, I should say. So it's been an interesting program for sure as we wrap up phase 1 with our 10 participants in there. Karen, anything else?
Yeah, we've learned a lot from this. I give Jean so much credit for her hand-holding and making sure that she helps take care of problems that people are having. We've had all kinds of problems, from a crashed bike that had to be rebuilt, to a stolen bike, to someone who had a flat tire on the rear who couldn't fix it themselves, who took it to a bike shop and the bike shop wouldn't touch it because it's an e-bike, and they said you need to take it back to the manufacturer to where you bought it. And I think some of the stuff that we have encountered is our program is income restricted. It has to be a certain threshold of income in order, and they're loan to own. So you get into the program for 90 days, and if you continue after 90 days, you will own that bike. It's a nice program, but there are some issues that we're coming up with. One of those is that the bikes are very heavy. And I don't know if any of you have an e-bike, but we thought that it would be quite easy to lift your bike and put it on the front of a bus and do first and last mile. It's impossible to lift those things. 60 pounds is what they are, and they're awkward. You can take them on light rail. It's harder on light rail because they're not grade level. It's easier to take them on commuter rail, like the N line, or the B line, or the A line, because those are level and you just roll them on. On the light rail, you have to stand them up and hold them. There are some issues. If you live in an apartment, we require that you keep your e-bikes inside overnight, that you keep them secure, and that you get homeowners insurance or home renters insurance to cover the e-bike. We find it's very hard for people to get their bikes upstairs. If they live in an upstairs apartment, they've got to find a secure place on the bottom floor to keep those bikes. So we're running into some things, but certainly it's been interesting. The phase 2, I think we were going to start in November. We've asked CEO, the Colorado Energy Office, if we can wait until the spring to do phase 2 for lots of reasons. And most of the reasons are it's dark so early, it's dangerous. Gene Putman has constantly made the plea that people need to wear reflective gear. They need to wear reflective vests, and he has provided some of those to our participants. Oh, there you go. Because it's a safety issue. Also, it's really cold and wet and damp, and all of the things that would restrict our success rate on these participants. So we maybe wait until spring to do phase 2. We anticipate 10 more bikes. A couple of those can be recumbent for people who want to try recumbent bikes.
I keep forgetting to unmute. So is there anyone that has any questions or comments about the update? No?
Yeah, I have
Go ahead, Gene.
as you said, I have these vests, and I just got another batch of 10. The people I'm getting it from, it's become such a popular issue that I was supposed to have another 10 in September, and I didn't get the 10 until last week. And one of the things that I thought I'd bring up is I have developed, remember at the last meeting, I asked for the ability to use Smart Commute in a, how to be able to put it on a vest. And Carson, is there a way for me to show this diagram?
Post to show it. Chair, do you want to do that now?
Yeah,
That's-
we could, since we're on this subject.
Okay.
That's fine, Carson.
All right. One sec, Gene. I'm going to make you the host, and then you'll have the opportunity to screen share.
Okay. Can you all see this diagram?
So
No.
if you go to the bottom of your control panel, the little green icon that says screen share, do you see that, Gene?
Yeah.
Click on that. And then find whichever one has the diagram. There you go.
All right. This is the diagram that I've drawn up, and I'm going to be putting it on the back of these high visibility vests. And one of the things I want to kind of put in is, you see these green and blue trailers right here coming off the back. The green is for, it's a green way of getting around, and the blue is for clear skies. And so this has got some symbolism in it to show, and it's going, this image will be going on the back of these vests. I'd like to find out if any of the board members would like to have one of these vests. I plan on going to one of the RTD outreach with the vest, with the emblem on it. I'd like to find out if anybody is interested in having one. I'll get you one at no cost.
All right.
That's all.
Thanks, Gene. Comments, questions?
Just a big thanks to Jean for participating. Happy to see you at any of those outreach meetings that we have. We are restricted at the outreach meetings to anybody who participates has to wear a mask. And any pictures that get taken, anyone in the pictures have to have a mask on. I think those were the two big restrictions that they gave us. Okay, that's a great update. Shall we?
Let's move on. Okay. All right. So we have North Metro Commuter Survey.
That's me, and I'm going to keep it really fast because we're going to get everyone done for 9. I have the last 2 items. This year, we are over 2,300 responses to our survey, and actually we have some more coming in because we did an October survey timeframe with 2 employers, which is City of Thornton and Adams 12 5-star schools. We've had very robust participation this year, mostly because we have promised to approach our data with an ETRP lens so that employers can better understand how close or not close they are to complying with what the rule would have required. We are the first TMA to go through this approach as far as looking at the data in this lens. and we're going to set the bar for what everyone else is going to be doing. I've been working with Dr. Cog to kind of codify the methodology that everyone else is going to follow. So that's been very good. If there's any questions I can address, otherwise we can go to the last agenda item. All right, we can move on. Carson. And then the last thing is we are trying to formalize a process that we've done and we've used in the past. It's called a carbon. It's commute footprint analysis. It really focuses on simply the commute to and from work and how those external emission factors are generated by commuting employees. This is something that employers can incorporate into like a triple bottom line, sustainability, social equity, environmental justice, that kind of reporting. And it starts to provide employers with a longitudinal look at how commutes alone are contributing to CO2 emissions and fuel consumption. So we've done these in the past, and we're just formalizing the process a bit more. And that's about, I think, all that I need to say about this to keep it really high level, unless anyone has any questions.
Okay. Questions? Thank you, Catherine. I don't hear any. Thank you.
We're excited to bring this to our members. Some places are going to be looking to do this as part of their sustainability approach, and Northwest Parkway is one of those. We're happy to partner with Pedro and Northwest Parkway to put together a customized piece for him, and we're learning a lot as we go. Wanted to thank everyone for coming today and make sure that you got the NADA meeting for tomorrow. There's quite a few interesting things on the NADA agenda tomorrow. And we hope that you'll be able to participate in that one as well. I know they're back. That's the way they land. And we don't really replicate what we say here, there, they're here. So other good information tomorrow at NADA, and hope you'll be able to attend. That's the meeting that has the 13 member jurisdictions, elected officials, and our representatives from both federal and state representatives, the representatives. So we get a pretty good turnout, usually 65 people at those meetings. So hope you can join. And then I would ask, as all of you leave, if my staff can stay on, we'll just do a really quick debrief if you wouldn't mind.
Karen, I don't have that NADA information, Karen and Carson. I do have it reserved on my calendar, but there isn't any information in the calendar invitation. So would look forward to that. Thanks.
I'll send that again.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and it starts at 7:30 also.
Yes, I see that.
Yeah. All right, with that, thank you everybody for attending, and see you in December. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.